Excuse me, guys. I know we're on the air, but I was just checking Jermaine Jones's Instagram to see if anything new has happened.
But what
Oh,
about
boy.
Jermaine?
You guys have been following this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've been following
I
it.
feel bad for the guy. It's not been
I've
pretty.
not seen any of the crazy stuff. I mean, I've seen him saying things about sometimes your family doesn't work out or whatever. When
Yeah,
you've
it
chosen the
was like
wrong
there's some
person, all
reasonable
these things.
stuff, and then there was like the time he showed his wife's lingerie, and he started going, "Really, Sarah? Really?" And apparently, TMZ says he bought a AR-15 and sent a picture of himself holding it to the Baywatch dude that he thinks is moving in on his wife. So yeah, if you haven't been following that saga, it's like I can't look away, but I also feel pretty. It's kind of sad. I like Jermaine, and if he really did try to get into that dude's house, it would not be the first time he's been out of position. I've been saving that for all week. This is USfanTV. This is a show. This is a show about soccer in the U.S. Speaking of, there is soccer going on in the U.S. right now. It appears to still be 0-0 in Kansas City.
Pat, it is right over my shoulder.
I can't see. It's too small.
It's 0-0.
Okay.
I will let you know.
Earlier tonight,
it's too small and it's blown out, so it's hard to see.
Earlier tonight, Atlanta lost to New York on a 92nd minute crap goal, but they still go on to MLS Cup 3-1 on Ag. So I heard screaming again, but it doesn't look like there was a goal. It looks like we get to see Brad Guzan starring in the big game.
The Goose.
It is going to be – I am excited to see Atlanta host that thing because that's a thing, and that's a thing that I was very wrong about. I've been wrong about a lot of things. But that might have been my worst call ever, that wouldn't work out in Atlanta because it's been the opposite. They are the best. What was that now? Another save. Okay, I'm going to be doing this all day. So that's going on, and it appears we've hired a coach. What? I mean, I'm stunned. It's going to be Gregg Berhalter. Can you guys believe it?
I've never heard of him. I don't know anything about this. Is he? I mean, where did he come from?
I believe that thumbnail you made, Chris, like a month ago. Which Berhalter will it be? It was one of them. Yeah, so it looks like it's not done. Like there hasn't been a news conference yet. But
Gregg Berhalter.
It's going to be one of those Berhalters hired by another Berhalter.
Yeah.
I guess two questions here.
Will it be Greg with one G or two Gs?
I think two, the double G. Two questions here. One, is he acceptable to you guys? And two, whether he is or is not, should it have taken 13 months to get to this point?
Okay, I guess I'll answer it. I've been on board with Berhalter the whole time, so I guess there's nothing new in that. I'm fine with it. And two, the fact that it takes 13 months, I've been pretty clear about that one too, and I'm sure Chris will have an answer contrary, so that's why I thought I'd start first. Who cares? It's games that are irrelevant. So I'm fine with it being 13 months. I'm fine with it being Berhalter. If the results are there. If the results aren't there, then what's it matter? Then we go back to the drawing board and we probably miss the World Cup again.
Big time take. If he does well, I'm fine with it. If he doesn't, I am not fine with it.
If he is good, I like him. If he is not good, I never liked him. My issue, as we have discussed amongst us, as we've discussed on this show numerous times, my issue is just that it took so damn long. And I understand this year was a wash regardless. Having said that, in preparation for the Gold Cup, he's got Camp Cupcake, which is what, only one game this year? Isn't that right? It was at least only one game so far. So only MLS guys. He's got the March break, and
then he's got the entire
those few weeks leading up to the start of the tournament. I don't like that it's very little time for him to actually examine the players, for him to set a standard. I get that it's just the Gold Cup. I've given my opinion on the Gold Cup many, many times, but at least it's I don't know, a game that counts.
Yeah, you can cap tag
he'll,
guy.
He'll have effectively 3 games to pick a team. And maybe we do some kind of warm up series with like 2 games or something a couple weeks before the Gold Cup, maybe.
Well, and then he's got the opening round against 3 teams from the Caribbean that are so small nobody gives a crap about. So he's got those games too. So, all right, now we're already talking about 6 probably 5 or 6 games before he gets a game that actually matters, and he can take those first 3 and cup tie people. If you think he's not going to be prepared, you're going to be wrong in that. That's the one thing you keep hearing about him over and over again is you're not going to out-prepare Gregg Berhalter. So I'm not concerned about that in the least bit. Is it somebody who wants to be the U.S. national team coach and isn't going to be looking for his next job? Yes.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
And that was the problem I had with Lopetegui, even Tata Martino. Yeah, exactly. The one that made soccer Twitter lose its damn mind. And then Tata Martino, same thing. You never were sure how long he was going to stay before he was looking at a job back in Europe. You always thought the same thing with Jurgen Klinsmann.
KC just scored.
Oh, so I'll have to watch that behind me because I'm about a minute behind in that game. But my point being is, he's going to be ready. They'll be fine. You needed somebody who's going to be here through the whole cycle, not looking over his shoulder, and that's what you're going to get with Gregg Berhalter. The fact that it took 13 months, again, it's something for soccer Twitter to lose his mind at, for Alexi Lalas to piss people off as usual. But realistically, it's a year. It was going to be a lost year anyway. It gave us something realistically to keep talking about until it did happen. So I guess in that sense, it was almost entertaining. And then finally, you can kind of go into it. There was a lot of things that needed to be done. You needed to get through the presidential election. They were doing a restructuring after that, and then adding in the general manager, whatever the Ernie Stewart's official title, hiring Ernie Stewart, letting him figure out what his job is actually going to be, how much say, because there were rumors he wasn't even going to be able to pick the coach. It sounds like he had some input. And then finally going through the process of who's interviewed. And the whole time there were back channel conversations with agents and, other people involved with these coaches. There were a lot because they only formally brothers. Yeah. In the case of Berhalter, but there were more than 4. Okay. Cause they only formally interviewed 4. Who cares? There were enough conversations had with the others to gauge interest in how many wanted to actually be there for a change.
It's disappointing to me in that it didn't look like we knew what we were doing the whole way, but I like Gregg Berhalter. There are guys who would have been more exciting to me, but like you said, TJ, his heart's in it. He's motivated to do the job. With this guy, it's going to be a full-time job. Whereas, with our last big name coach, it was sort of a part-time job for him. I'm talking about Klinsmann. So there's a lot of pluses to Berhalter. I don't find it to be an inspiring hire, but the last time I was inspired by a hire, it didn't work out with Klinsmann. So I say we support the guy going forward, see what he can do, and hopefully he does well for us. I do think it's kind of cool that a former national teamer is now taking over the national team. It makes me feel kind of old, but it is what it is. But I think we support the guy going forward, and there's going to be all those MLS sucks people out there. Well, I mean,
our 2 best,
our
national team managers, national team coaches came out of MLS.
Right, and Bob Bradley has quite a resume since then too. So, I don't think you.
And sorry to interrupt, but last I checked, Bob Bradley wasn't exactly an inspired hire either. I think back about it.
Right.
No, absolutely. I
it was the same sort of feeling
talking about this at the time. Yeah, that we were not in favor of his hiring. But then again, well, to some extent, you could say there was a similar circumstance there because while it wasn't inspiring because they'd spent so long trying to get Klinsmann in the door and then went, oh, well, we here we have Bob Bradley. So it was like they backdoored it, which is kind of what they did here. That's really been my problem all along. Berhalter, I'm not against him, you know, and I don't doubt his preparation for, say, the Gold Cup next summer. It's more that will he have had the players in place for them to get prepared properly, for them to will we get to see a team that's inspiring to us come the Gold Cup next summer, which is really all I care about. Because frankly,
flags up. No,
the Gold Cup itself, who cares? But
I care a little more than I usually do.
In this case, I do, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I'm working.
Yeah, because it'll be the first chance to actually have a meaningful game. But
sort of.
I don't know. Yeah. Whatever. But I guess my point is just much like whatever that was, 2011. When we got Bradley? No, he was 2010. So what was it? 2008 when we got him? 2007.
2009. Which cup? Anyway, which World Cups did he do?
He did 10.
10.
So we got
sometime
him in
between 06
so about 2,
I think, because we spent a while there.
Yeah.
We spent a while there trying to get Klinsmann. It didn't happen.
Klinsmann went to
so
Bayern.
When we got Bradley, it was a letdown, which is kind of what happened here. And Berhalter could have been a fine choice all along, but when you do this kind of half-ass, maybe it could be anybody. And it's like, really? It was the guy who we expected all along, like every rumor has said, for over a year?
It does make you wonder if they gave up all their negotiating leverage in the way this played out. Because, at the very least...
So, but back to my question. Who cares if they had negotiating leverage or not? Last I checked, U.S. Soccer has enough money they could afford to pay him. So
it speaks to poor leadership. Yeah, I don't care if they gave him an extra mil. Because I do care when you've got whatever sitting in the bank. I do care that they don't seem to know what they're doing.
At least publicly, they don't seem to know
what they're doing. You know what it kind of reminds me of? When there's an organization, you've seen this before in many places. There's failure, and then instead of the showing responsibility, there's the fake showing responsibility, and then it's a doubling down on insiders. And he's not gonna shake that insider label when his brother works there and maybe had a say in the decision. So
and could be a future
could
be a top leader in the organization very soon.
So it's
second in charge.
It's not. And I care. I care. I wanted to see a more professional, more thought out search. And maybe you're right. Maybe it was thought out, TJ, and maybe just publicly it looked terrible. Maybe it was just a PR nightmare, but they actually did know what they were doing behind the scenes. I don't know, but
much like ticketing with U.S. Soccer.
Yeah. By the way, have we popped for $80 for the Gold Cup opener in Minneapolis yet?
I've not done that. I am kind of leaning towards just going for it because I want to go to that opening game. I want to see that stadium. It's not far away, but yeah, ridiculous. Really, the Women's World Cup tickets aren't even on sale yet, and we're already selling tickets to a Gold Cup match. And then on top of it, that they're essentially double the price.
Yeah, at least the Cleveland game, the midweek Cleveland game is only like 47 or something for American Outlaws tickets. And then Kansas City, which is another nice road trip option, is not yet on sale. Is that right?
Yeah.
So we'll be hitting the Minnesota one's the most appealing to me, but we'll be hitting one of those. You got a special friend in Cleveland, Chris, that you might meet on the streets again.
He's talking about a hobo on the street, that was not some kind of dirty comment.
You don't need to, you know what? I like to build an aura about you for the viewers. You don't need to give them, I'm not going to get into what he said to you, but it's one of those quotes that when somebody yells at you, which we have a lot of these for some reason, we get yelled at a lot in the street. It's one of those quotes that sticks with you, what he said to you. It's true.
If that had been the way he asked for money, I probably would have given it to him because I found his quote hilarious. I'm not sure I can repeat it right here. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not necessarily something
I don't think we want to do it
on air.
I don't think it's for the after show.
Yeah. But it was very funny. Had he said that to me up front, I probably would have given him some money. The way he came at us to ask for money was very like kind of confrontational, almost like he was demanding us to give him money. So it was like, no, I'm not giving you money. But it did end with some humor. And there is always the fact that fun times in Cleveland today.
It's true. Nothing new from Jermaine.
Thanks for the update. That was new. That was journalism at its finest, by the way, there, Pat.
I will keep checking.
Just in on the Jermaine update.
Pat, can you go get your Emmy just to show it off, just for that update alone?
I've already done that. If you want to see it, go in the last show that I was on. I'm not gonna.
I have not seen this episode. Lori watched the episode, however. The Emmy came out. Why did the Emmy?
Anonymity.
I've been meaning to ask.
Anonymity knew he must have been like trolling my LinkedIn or something, and he knew that I have won an Emmy. I've actually won 2. So I went and he asked to see it. So because he's a avid viewer, which I don't think he's here right now. Are you here, Anonymity? You haven't seen your snarky comments. Yeah, he's probably busy watching the game here, but yeah. So he asked, and I obliged. I showed him.
So let me ask you this question: you guys keep coming back to the PR that this wasn't done in publicly because, of course, soccer Twitter, everybody there is a GM and everybody there should be hired. Was it that it wasn't done? Is it you mentioned, is it a PR issue or not, this Berhalter hire? Is it because they really just didn't say anything publicly, so people were forced to speculate? And even the insiders like Wall and Alexi Lawless, they weren't getting the information they thought, and they kept hearing rumors, and they were taking whatever rumors they could get and throwing them out there. Is it really unprofessional, or is it just they just didn't say anything and just let everybody speculate the whole time, and then Twitter decided to be Twitter and go off and lose its damn mind over it?
Yeah, I try to take Twitter with a grain of salt because everything's always horribly negative on there. But and if you try to be like Alexi Lawless tried to be positive, like he always does, Americans are great at things, the type of stuff. Soccer Don Trump or Donna King, as Chris calls him.
Technically, someone else created that. I just enjoy it.
I think you could steal it at this point. It's you always, but everybody jumps down his throat as being you're the biggest idiot in the world. But I don't think it's idiotic to say that Gregg Berhalter might end up being a good head coach for us. But it does seem like a bungled process. It should not. I mean, he's a guy you can get in January if you want him. But you wanted to hire a GM. Well, you wanted to first, and that's what it was. First, you're going to let the new president get elected. So, okay, you got your guy who was already there as president, and then you take several more months to hire the GM,
who again everyone knew months in advance. But nope, deny.
And so then clearly you were just letting Gregg Berhalter finish the season, which is fine, I guess. Just announce it.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't understand why you couldn't have said that at that point even, because if nothing else, the rumors are out there. It's not like the team doesn't know. It's not like these guys don't have access to the internet. They've never seen the internets before.
And if you haven't finished the deal with him, that's when you back channel stuff to reporters saying that you've interviewed some other big name that could get him to buckle down and agree. You don't let him know that he's the only person who's even on the radar at all.
This is the problem with this is you two are media guys, and you guys think you're owed this should be done publicly. They didn't say anything publicly at all about the whole process. They didn't say anything about Ernie Stewart. Yeah, Ernie Stewart was always considered the front runner. Why? Because of those people you would think would be qualified.
You don't have to say stuff publicly, but you have to handle the message. You can handle the message because that's what you do if you're a PR guy. If you're U.S. Soccer's PR guy, you do your job.
It allows you to control the message as opposed to the message becoming, well, what the hell did they do? What were they doing?
The message was constantly, what are they doing?
Is there a point? Is there a point that they just didn't care what the opinion was?
And again, maybe they didn't care.
Not only not led by
I got two questions. I got two questions.
Led by.
Well, I got two questions. When you look at the people who would be considered for the GM job, was there anybody really that you would think would be more that would take the job and to begin with that was more qualified than Ernie Stewart? No. When you look at those that would be that you would think would be successful as a manager of the the men's team, is there somebody really more qualified than Gregg Berhalter that you think that knows how this is going to work? There aren't many. Bradley might be one of them. Tab Ramos probably is another.
I think Tab would have been a better hire.
And I don't think so because Tab deals with kids. It's a big difference from going from under 20.
Tab's had success.
Tab's had success in under 20s. How many? And I'm going to use how many college coaches go and do the pros and can't handle it? It's a different game when you get away from kids. And
what has Greg done to show you that he can handle it?
I think he's had success with Columbus, considered he's on a shoestring budget. He had to keep those guys focused when their owner's trying to find the fastest way to get his team to Austin. So it
was a tough deal, yeah. And I'm not saying he did a.
Let's see, Zach Steffen 2 or 3 years ago was sitting with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. He's now about to go off to Manchester City.
He's not really going to Manchester City, by the way.
Well, he's going to go to wherever they want to, whenever they want to loan him.
Nick Diskerud went to Manchester City too, right?
Right. He's going to be loaned out. But when you think of something, I'll bet you a 6-pack, Pat, and I'll do it on the air. I'll bet you a 6-pack. If he goes to Man City, he will feature at least once this year. Might be a cup game, FA Cup, whatever. He will feature at least once.
No, they're going to loan him.
Yeah, I would assume it's an immediate loan.
All right, I got a 6-pack on that one. You want to take that one? If he signs.
Isn't Bravo hurt, or who is their backup right now?
Their backup is out for the year. That's why I said I think he's going to get time.
Navy.
Then he's going to get time with the cup games of some sort. That's why. But
in a Carabao Cup game, Carabao Cup.
Is it Carabao or Caribou? Is it like the coffee company? Might as well be. But what is it? Wasn't it Will Trapp? Isn't he like he somehow has pictures of somebody? He must have pictures of Berhalter's brother or something that he keeps getting featured.
Also, Ethan Horvath is better than Zach Steffen.
Of late, yeah. Zach Steffen apparently
saying that. So,
well, we'll see how that plays out.
Unless it's a penalty shootout, then Steffen apparently knows what he's doing.
But he made he turned Zardes into actually production instead of just a black hole. So he's done some things. The one
does that mean we get to see Zardes full time now? Because I sure hope so.
I hope no. But the one thing I read from somebody who does cover the Crew is said Berhalter's system is very, very detail oriented and very, very specific. The fact that he doesn't have these guys full time, he wonders how that's going to play over. Will Berhalter be able to implement a system that he doesn't need to have everybody there all the time, like that specific of a plan? So
yeah, I don't think you can make it that complicated at the international level because you've got to have everybody remember and understand.
Presumably it'll become, in that case, it would become a system where it's just plug and play different players.
I do think we need to see more continuity, though. I don't want to be so Klinsmanned around with positions and guys in camp and people unsure of where they're going to play or if they're going to play or if they're going to even be called in or what. That chaos that he brought that apparently only Jermaine Jones thrived on. Created big problems. So
Jermaine Jones played all 11 positions in one night. Nobody else knew that, but he chose to do it anyway.
Nothing from Jermaine Jones on Instagram right now.
Thank goodness for that.
Because it's been a roller coaster, you guys. It was really it got sad, and then it got dark, and then it's okay, and then it got real dark. I feel for the guy. Should we talk about Pulisic to Chelsea?
Yeah, we definitely have to talk about Pulisic here. We've already talked about Zach Steffen potentially moving. We got to hit Pulisic.
Are they really going to pay the equivalent of $90 million for Christian Pulisic.
See, I don't think 70 million is an unheard of amount for an up and coming winger in Europe.
It is okay. It is a Premier League team buying him, so automatically you tack on more money because
I mean, it's a Premier League team, and you got to think if he was English, like say he's Sancho, he's already 110 million probably.
That's true. That's a good point. And all those English teams understand the marketability there. So you're not just buying him for, for his on the field play. You're buying him for the American eyeballs that he would presumably bring to your team. So that whole thing about the shirt sales alone will, that's always bullshit. But
the only one I disagree with you on with that on it would be with golden balls.
Yeah,
I think golden balls, that's legit.
I would have said maybe Messi, but then again, it would cost so much to move Messi anywhere, that, even at his age.
But yeah, as NJ just said, NJ Ace, he's not really playing right now at Dortmund, except he played in the Champions League snoozer this week. But he probably won't start this weekend if things are going to go like they have been going in the Bundesliga, which is a little bit concerning. So you could see why he maybe wants a move.
But
I'm kind of scared for him at this point. Like, I think I can see why he would want to move. I could see why he'd want to, a different challenge and make some more money. But I do worry that if he goes to like a Chelsea, I don't want him to go anywhere near Jose Mourinho, but he should be on the way out at Man United soon. If he does go to Chelsea, I mean, their manager now has no use for N'Golo Kante for some reason. I do worry that he just gets shipped away somewhere, and that's not what I want.
The one thing when you look at Chelsea is their wingers are either not good or old. I mean, there is a definite chance.
Like with Bayern, it's the same thing. I feel safer with a move to Bayern, and I sense that he probably wants a Premier League move, but I feel like he's got a better chance to succeed at Bayern. I mean, once Bayern gets its shit together, and if they're going to fire their coach and move on. I mean, there's two with Ribery and with Robin. There's two guys who are probably not going to be there in the very near future. They're both on 1-year deals, and Pulisic can move in nicely, and he could cut inside and score goals, hopefully, for Bayern. So, I think that's a better move for him. I always liked Liverpool just because of Klopp, but that would be a tough break for him to get in.
Yeah, I mean, to me, anybody going to Liverpool at this point has to be probably an established superstar to truly count on going and starting.
Right.
Because, God, I mean,
I don't want him going anywhere he's not going to start.
Yeah.
And he's not starting at the place he's at right now. So
I do think, like, part of the reason that I expect him to move is that, the rise of Sancho, it's not so much that Sancho may like usurp him and just take his spot, so much as it means that they have the luxury to sell him now. They have someone else who can take the spot. Now he becomes a nice way to make some money so they can go fill another position they need.
Wow,
it's so much of Dortmund's business plan.
Wow, I actually agree with Chris, and this always disturbs me when it happens. But I think when we were talking, I might, but I thought I recall hearing that in the fall that the reason they didn't sell him was they couldn't. They needed him for that role, and now that they can move him. I think that's part of the reason why he didn't go this fall. So, Chris with a valid point tonight. So, okay, that's Chelsea, the high point of the show.
Chelsea makes sense. Bayern makes sense, both because, there's an opportunity for a player like him to fit in to the lineup. Look, sometimes it's bad luck, sometimes it's injuries, sometimes, maybe you're form waivers a little bit. Players get moved in and out of lineups who you have no problem when they come back in. I'm not ready to say like, there's a problem here. Like maybe he's Maybe he got too full of himself or whatever. Maybe something happened, and now he's not as good. I mean, we could look at Arsenal, for instance, where Aubameyang and Lacazette often swap who's playing, who's the better player. Lacazette may be the more pure goal scorer, but Aubameyang has the goals. So you're seeing them move in and out all the time. You're not necessarily always seeing them in together.
Well,
you do need squad rotation.
You prefer one over the other? And I just use an example that like at least two of us here would watch consistently. But just because I don't know, just because he's not consistently starting, it's not like he's not playing.
That's true. Yeah, he plays pretty much every game.
Sancho's had a great start to the season. He's done what Pulisic did a year and a half ago. That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't know that he's now replaced Pulisic for good. I think it just probably means that. And maybe part of the reason he's starting too is they are trying to see, like, are we okay? Can we sell Pulisic? I still don't see them selling him in January.
I don't know that he'd even want to move. They're on such a roll. You'd think he'd want to finish out.
And it sounds like he wouldn't. But my point is, they still want to try and win just about everything come January. They're not going to sell him.
Yeah,
because he clearly still has a
guys
role.
Can get hurt. Yeah, he's not like he's playing poorly. He's just not. He's not producing as much because he's not playing as much. He still looked really good in the Champions League game this week against his boy Ethan Horvath, but he didn't put up anything. But Robert has a good point. If Arsene takes the job at Bayern, as is the big rumor this week, I don't know that I want him going there.
Yuck, God. Ugh.
Arsene's not a complete idiot, but
my take on Wenger is he is a great estimator of value of a player. The problem is he's not adapted to the new world in which there's oil money, there's ridiculous TV money, there's just foolish. He
didn't want to be a part of it, and he thought he could operate outside of it, and I don't think you can unless you're going to be Dortmund or a team that is a selling team, and Arsenal cannot be a selling team, and clearly Bayern Munich cannot be a selling team. And that seems to be his, because he's an economist, that seems to be his desire. If he doesn't value a guy at a certain point, then then it must not be true.
I mean, one of the things I'm outspoken over the last few years on pretty much hatred of him before he left Arsenal, but one of the things I never wavered on, I agree with him. If he says a player's worth 20 million or 50 million or 75 million, whatever, I tend to agree with him. That's what that player's worth. If we're playing in kind of real money, we're no longer playing in a market with real money.
When you have Man City building a training ground in London just because they don't know what to do with their money, you have teams operating.
No, it's not a fair market anymore. The valuations of players are through the roof because there's just money to throw away. And he hasn't adapted to that. He's still like, well, this is only a 50 million pound player. And a 50 million pound player may go for 125 now. And he's like, well, this is too much. Sure, it is. But that's what the market now pays. So either you adapt or you give up. And he doesn't understand that. So he doesn't give up on the 50 million player, but he also, I don't know, he at least when he was at Arsenal, he screwed up because he'd keep focusing on that 50 million pound player that was now 125 million instead of going and finding what is now the new 50 million pound player. And
every year it was the same six guys that you could, Karim Benzema or whoever that he was rumored to be going after. It was ridiculous. And it was always like, he was moving at a turtle's pace, which is why you would get to the end of the window and he still wouldn't have anything done. And in the second that somebody new came in, things got done very quickly and were in place very quickly. So I don't know
anyway, whatever.
I hope
I care about Bayern.
The short answer is, if Arsene goes to Bayern, I hope Pulisic doesn't.
Agreed.
So where would you want him to go then? He does fit.
I don't want to see him at Chelsea. I mean, I can see where it fits. I'd rather see him at Bayern than Chelsea in terms of like teams that I can accept him at. But man, I don't want him playing for an Arsene Wenger team.
I'd rather him go to Chelsea than Man United, just because I don't trust Mourinho at all.
True. Yeah. Oh yeah, no. If Mourinho's there, God,
I think he'd be. I think he'd be possible. I think he'd honestly be good at Tottenham, but that would be difficult for me to handle. Mm-hmm. I think it would be difficult.
So I just think he belongs at the Philadelphia Union designated player. That's where I think right now. Because just because soccer Twitter loses its damn mind, I think it'd be hilarious.
So I've had a cold, so I've been taking NyQuil, and when I take NyQuil, I have insane dreams, and one of them was that he went to the Union. And I remember feeling so sad that I'm like, this is it. He's going to be an amazing player here, but this is it. It's over.
He woke up in tears.
I do. It was difficult. It's so weird that you said that.
All right, so
he can go there when he's 34. Do you guys? Let me just check real quick.
How about Copa Libertadores? We didn't talk about that.
It's going to be played at the Bernabeu now, right?
I guess,
it was briefly going to be played in Miami,
and then it was briefly going to be played in wasn't it Qatar? They was going to play in Doha.
Yeah, because that's a great decision.
I guess Qatar Airways is going to pay like $15 million to the winner. It was all again.
I assume you guys. I mean, I don't think we've talked about this. You guys watched the videos of that, right?
Yeah, there's no way those guys should have been playing, and I kind of think they should give it to them anyway. Give it to Boca anyway. Yeah. Like Chris and I have always wanted to go to one of those games.
I want to go to this game so bad.
But it would be to see the shit show, to see the way people behave, to see people strapping players to children.
Insanity.
Yeah, it's.
I want to be there for the show.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, look, as much as I have a team in a dog in the fight, I'm a Boca Juniors supporter just because of the history of Pele and Maradona playing there. But so I pull for certainly one in that match, but it's not like I am immersed in the history of either team. I just picked my side based on two amazing players who both played for the team. That said, I've wanted this is one of the original shows or one of the original ideas that led to us doing this show was Pat and I wanted to go to certain games around the world, and one of them was this match.
So I just saw this. I'm scrolling through Twitter, and I thought this was pretty ironic. So it's Copa Libertadores, established in 1916 to honor the liberation of most of South America from Spanish rule, will be held in Madrid.
Did Pele play for Boca Juniors, by the way?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought he only played for Santos.
I mean, we can check this.
And the Cosmos.
But I'm 90% sure.
If he did, I didn't know that. What if your whole fandom of them is based on nothing?
Maradona, at least.
Maradona was there.
And in the end, I still believe Maradona is better than Pele. Was better than Pele, I guess. I mean, technically they're both still alive, but their playing days are long gone. I
don't know. I would still
camp that Messi's even better.
I think if you give Maradona enough cocaine, he could still survive.
Did you guys see that interview the other day where he just said for a minute? If you guys haven't seen it, I think I retweeted it. Go look it up. It was.
I think you did because that's where I saw it.
Like Peter North. It was amazing. It was like for a minute though.
To answer Robert's question, yes, I have been hit with CS gas with being in the military. You have to actually when you join the military, you test your gas mask and then you have to take it off and you get gassed basically. So I've been through CS Gas. It's not a pleasant experience.
Why is this coming up? I've been
because that's what
the gas that got on the bus.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then what was it? It was 3 or 4 years earlier when they played in the round of 16 in Boca's was at home, and somebody CS gassed the tunnel when River Plate was coming out from the second half. They got CS gassed. I mean, this is not the first time this has happened. And that one, what they did is they threw Boca Juniors out of the tournament. So they gave that second game. So, but this is not the first time it's happened. It was around a 16 and not the finals this time. So that's why the question about CS gas came up. Yes, I've been through it. It's not a pleasant experience. But no, I've not. Out of the three of us, I would actually say I would expect Chris to be most likely to strap a flare to his kid's chest to bring him in the stadium.
My
son would strap a flare to his own chest to sneak in.
I had to laugh at that as well. Tom, Angela, River Plate. That was funny. Yeah. New Jersey Ace. I assume you want to go. Was it you? Oh, you just want to get on the American Outlaws bus, like go into Azteca, like just with the Outlaws. That's not hard to do.
I imagine that bus isn't nearly as fun as the players' bus when they throw shit at the bus.
True.
In that sense.
Sign up.
It's honestly, the last match at Azteca wasn't even that unruly. Like it was nothing like it used to be.
The Azteca is not nearly as cool looking on TV as it used to look.
Menacing,
scarier,
dangerous.
Yeah, and now it looks like.
I will say though, it may have.
He's going to talk about the lighting. He's going to talk about the lighting.
I don't care. The lighting looks amazing. It
Every
looks
like
damn
daylight.
Time. It looks like daylight on that field. Like there's not even shadows or anything. It's amazing. I'll give them that. The lighting looks amazing. I don't know how they did it. I ever since I noticed the upgrade on the lighting there, I have watched other stadiums in many different sports to go like, what do they do here? And I'm like, I can see shadows on the field. Like, they don't have this evened out. It doesn't look like daylight when I watch this game on TV. I don't know. That place is amazing, but whatever. What about the pee bags?
It's part of the deal, man. The D batteries and the pee bags.
It's cost of doing business. Sometimes you gotta pay up.
That, but apparently the turf at Azteca wasn't that good because they had to move that Rams game, which ended up being the highest scoring game in NFL history or whatever, second highest scoring game in history. Would have been a good one for them to see down there, but maybe it would have been a different game if they had to play at the Azteca. So they got to get their act together with the turf. But that's just a CONCACAF thing. It's not like any soccer game played in this country ever has good turf. So what's left, guys? Do you have any TJ, do you have a 9th division update for us?
Nah, nothing this week.
You do have to talk about, we have to mention the Minivan Dad Soccer Pod is up and going. TJ, tell us about it. Where can we find it?
Right now, just on SoundCloud. I haven't gotten far enough to get it to iTunes. That's on the agenda to do yet tonight and get at least that process started. Doesn't it take a couple days to do it? I don't think it's something that happens right away.
I think if you're doing it at iTunes, can take a while to get your first one up, and then it can go instant after they approve you. So
right. So
is my understanding.
I feel like I should be using Podbean instead of SoundCloud, but I really don't know.
You get it all worked out, and then we'll do the USfanTV pod after you figure out the best way to do things.
After you get the bugs worked out, we'll.
Well, I'm getting ready to go into the third show next week, and I still haven't figured out how to do anything other than hit record. So this is high tech at its finest. I'll tell you that much. But it's fun to do. It's a lot harder to do than this is because you don't have anybody else. I feel like I'm just talking to myself, which, although there are times in this show that's still the best conversation I'm going to have. So, but then again, speaking of squad rotation, we talked about earlier. That's why I was brought in originally, was for squad rotation. So
yeah, you are. That's true. It does make it easier when I'm having one of those days where I don't feel like doing it. Today was not one. I was excited to be here today. I'm in the upswing right now. Aiden, yes, I have been to PSG Stadium, but I have not been to a game there, so I haven't really seen it. I've been outside of it. So that's kind of cool, but not quite the same thing. Yeah, I would like to go there. You've been to Wembley, though. Do we talk about you? You guys had a show last week. Did you? You probably talked about your Wembley experience, right?
I don't know that we really did talk about the Wembley experience. I mean, we
I don't remember. I don't remember what we talked about. Honestly,
honestly, right now I can't even remember what we talked about. Wembley was cool. Not as much more family friendly than I don't know than soccer in England used to be. But that's kind of across the board.
Did you? How was your Emirates experience?
Also much more family friendly than things used to be.
Yeah, that place is shockingly quiet. It was cool being there when I went, but I was kind of disappointed in the same way. So
that is fair. It will be loud this weekend.
It will be
certain.
That's for sure.
Yeah, like Wolves fans were walking. I was at the Wolves match a few weeks ago, and Wolves fans were like walking in with like, their jerseys on, like scarves everywhere, like yelling and stuff, and nobody kind of did anything. And I thought, wow, 20 years ago when I was going to games, this was not allowed.
You gave me the don't be an idiot talking to before we went to the FA Cup semifinal in Cardiff when Arsenal played Blackburn, when Brad Friedel was there. But I was told to not engage the away supporters because you were afraid that I would do something stupid or say something stupid.
Well, but as a betting man, I would take the odds that would happen.
I've been known to do that, but especially when I was younger. But
the worst part, I will tell you what Pat does. He says something offensive about someone really loud, really close to them, but he thinks he's just saying it to me or to someone else. I always ignore it, hoping that someone will just think it's someone else who said it. So he repeats it louder the second time. And it's like, they're literally standing right there. And then he'll go, I did it again, didn't I?
That is true. That's what I do.
Robert, I tried to find AFTV. We went looking for him. We couldn't find him. Either they had we walked around most of the stadium after the match trying to find him. So I don't know if they just set up a little later that night or what, but I never did find them.
When I went, they shot by the Armory right above it by like where the kind of near the Henri sliding knee statue, right in that. Yeah, that's where I saw them.
That's like that was right behind my seat. So like we came out right there. So maybe we were just out too soon. I walked around to the other end. We couldn't find it. But whatever. Yeah. Cause I'm friends with a guy who's friends with Robbie. Amazingly.
You are. That is true.
Yeah. Who actually, that guy will be at the match on Sunday.
He will. And he will like probably sit with Dennis Bergkamp or something.
It wouldn't surprise. Yeah. That dude amazingly meets the most incredible, suddenly like Henri walks into the stadium out of nowhere and like shakes one person's hand and it's his. Like, how does this happen? The dude goes on like a search at I don't know, the local Goodwill or whatever, and finds like Arsenal stuff all the time. Like,
at the Racine, Wisconsin Goodwill.
Yeah,
he's finding like Highbury 2006 jerseys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I believe he stayed with Robbie from AFTV when they were in LA.
He did actually. Yeah, that's how they became friends. Yeah. He just requested. He was like, "Hey, I'm going out for the Arsenal game when they were coming to play over here 2 summers ago, I guess it was." And he's like, I'm just looking for somebody's like backyard that I can crash my tent in. So he was gonna like just literally camp out. And somebody goes, "Hey, we got an extra room or whatever," and it turns out it's Robbie from AFTV.
Why not?
So yeah, now he's like personal friends with him. It wouldn't surprise me if somehow he manages to get on.
They had to change the name to AFTV because Arsenal did not want them to be Arsenal Fan TV anymore.
Yeah.
US cannot make us change to anything shorter than USFanTV. We're already there. All right, I think we covered it, guys. The game right now is 1-0 Sporting KC at halftime. So perhaps your MLS Cup final is going to be Atlanta and Sporting, but we'll see. Still have to play in that. The Jermaine has not put anything on Instagram as of yet, so he's still doing all right. Hopefully, hang in there, Jermaine. Jermaine, I know you watch. It gets better, buddy. Just hang in there, buddy. TJ has a pod. It's called the Minivan Dad Soccer Pod, and you should listen to it. And it's on SoundCloud right now, but it's going to be on other things. And yeah, Chris and I haven't listened to it yet because TJ knew that we didn't, but we will. We'll get. I think there's been 2 episodes. Is that right?
2 episodes. The first one's pretty much a shit show. Won't argue about that. The second one.
Start with number 2.
Number 2 is it's better, and I'm guessing next week will be even better because just notes get better.
Working out the bugs.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
We have some content for you on our YouTube page that Chris put up, like a little movie he made about being in England and watching the U.S. get annihilated by England. But it's still a pretty good little piece he put together, so you should go watch that.
While the game did not go well, I actually was I thought I don't mean to like give myself kudos here, but I did actually think that it came together pretty well. So if you haven't watched it, I think you should. Please.
I like how you added the lion each time England scored.
Yeah,
that's a good little touch. Little Easter egg almost. That is probably it. We have social media, USfanTV, Twitter and Facebook, and YouTube especially. We're almost to like 1350. I think we were pretty close to it the other day when I looked. So that's pretty cool. Subscribe if you haven't. I saw a bunch of new people on the old chat tonight. So if you guys haven't subscribed, please do. Thank you for watching. TJ, you get to start with final words.
I've got nothing tonight. I like your Milwaukee Torrent hat there. That's about it.
We'll say that every time.
Yep.
Chris, besides the lighting is Teco, what do you have?
I got nothing. Thanks, everybody. You're done.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you next week. You're done. Go Portland.